This video is for IB Business Management and it's considering the concept question, the Big 20 mark question, and the concepts that we're going to be considering within this video is strategy and globalisation. And this is a BBC News article back in 2014, so it is slightly outdated, but it's a very, very good article in terms of McDonald's and their approach to globalisation in certain emerging countries such as India. So the article is centered around a young entrepreneur who, after their experiences of eating McDonald's abroad, really wanted to bring it to India. Now, the whole idea of McDonald's operating in India is quite surreal. If you think about McDonald's and its trademark menu of beef burgers, and if you consider India, obviously considering cows as a sacred animal, you do question how it would work. But yeah, it has. Even in that opening paragraph, it says the biggest challenge, or his first challenge, was to convince his vegetarian family to invest in the business. And in terms of this whole notion of how could we offer a McDonald's menu without beef burgers, what the young entrepreneur says, or what Amit says, is that McDonald's approach and their strategy towards globalization is what's really helped this process. So what convinced us was that McDonald's was willing to localize. They promised that there would be no beef or pork in the menu. And I think in terms of globalization, the more successful multinational companies is that, I suppose, that strategy of localization. And I suppose it's thinking locally but acting globally, and McDonald's are very, very good at doing that. If you think about McDonald's all over the world, they always adapt their menu to suit the local culture. If you think about in terms of Chile and the types of burgers that they have on their menu, and you look at the use of avocados and so on, or if you go to France, not quite the menu, but the whole notion of fast food is not very popular in France. So McDonald's have created a restaurant vibe. If you think about Japan and you think about their love for seafood, McDonald's again localized their menu and adapted it to offer more seafood products. Even with China and I suppose buying into the American experience, wanting to have that American experience, McDonald's have been able to add value to their service. They've also offered such services as a hole in the wall to make it more convenient, make it faster, because I suppose Chinese customers, from the research that they've carried out, they've noticed that they want extremely fast food. So as it states, nearly half of Indians are vegetarian. So choosing a vegetarian to run their outlet here made sense, because obviously they could tap into their knowledge of the vegetarian market and of such products that would possibly suit McDonald's. So again, it says across the world, the Big Mac beef burger is their trademark, their signature product. But Amit and his partners had to come up with their own signature product for India, so they came up with their own version of the Mac based on the Chicken Mac. So it states that originally they worked as a joint venture to see if the Indian strategy could actually work, and once it proved its success, then Amit bought into the franchise and to become a franchisee. So now this picture is just an example of the localized menu with the McVeggie, the fillet of fish, and just some of the burgers and some of the meals and I suppose menu options that are available within India. Just showing you the change or the difference to maybe the McDonald's that you're used to from where you're from. So again, relating to the challenge, Amit says in terms of one of the biggest challenges was to do with the consumer, to do with the culture change from maybe Indian food to this idea of a McDonald's burger. Now, obviously we're not considering corporate culture, but we're thinking about the culture of the consumer. And he says from a consumer's point of view, I'd start with the message that a burger is a meal. So again, this might not have been common within the Indian market. His research again showed that in 2003, of 100 meals that people ate in a month, only 3 were eaten out. So it wasn't common for people to go out to buy to restaurants or to get even fast food restaurants to buy meals. They mostly ate at home. So these are big challenges, and he had to change the consumer culture. So the first thing they did was start to offer affordable meals and a 20 rupees burger, which was more like street food. And again, it was very similar to the street food that maybe they have on the streets in India. And you have to consider India, it's a developing country, average income is still low, okay, and therefore they had to make sure it was affordable and attractive to Indian consumers. So it says here, something you'd find on Indian streets. It was essentially the McDonald's version of street food. The price and the taste together, the value we introduced was a hit. It revolutionized the industry in India. So again, that initial burger, that initial option that they had to offer, it was important that it was a success. They had to really consider the strategy of how they were going to open up the McDonald's and the type of options they were going to offer. And he states that consumer culture has changed. So now eating out has gone up to 9 to 10 times per 100 meals. And McDonald's in India has more than 320 million customers a year, proving how much of a success this localized menu has been. So whether you love or hate McDonald's, they deliver a formula very well. Um, and it's definitely true. McDonald's operates in over 100 countries. They would not be able to do so unless they really thought about that formula of globalization. And again, it's a global strategy that has proved very, very effective and helped them to become one of the biggest companies in the world. So localized menus delivered with precision, quality at a price that works. One other trick they've used very effectively is an entry-level ice cream, which fuels the ability for consumers who might not ordinarily be able to afford to become a customer. So even those customers who can't afford the meals, they can still afford certain choices from the menu. And again, you have to remember McDonald's is a brand name, a very, very successful brand name, known worldwide. Just having the opportunity to shop at McDonald's could be a selling point, even if it is just simply an entry-level ice cream. He does state that the kind of customers McDonald's attracts in India is very different from other countries. But from what he says, it seems like they attract a wide range of customers within India. They've still got the families of young children who frequently buy it, as you expect in many other countries, such as the UK market. But it also includes many young people aged between 19 and 30 with no children. So maybe those with slightly higher income or more income to spend on leisure, they're still buying from McDonald's. Again, that might be to do with the average income, but he says that in terms of others, you get young professionals, IT workers, for example, you carrying out Skype interviews or meetings whilst in a McDonald's. You get college students who share meals, but you also get elderly couples. So it shows a wide range of customers and a massive mass appeal. But the Indian market is growing. As it says on the right, Domino's Pizza is now more than 500 restaurants across India. KFC is more than 300. Dunkin' Donuts, more than 30. Burger King has just opened its first restaurants, which tells you that this is a growing market for this type of food. And again, McDonald's may have helped that. Obviously, emerging markets show a massive opportunity, and a lot of companies are considering emerging markets. If you think about the development of China and the amount of multinationals operating there, and again in India, but it does in the short term it does come at high cost, and you have to think they are developing countries. They haven't got the infrastructure that's in place in developed countries, again such as the UK. So if you think about the supply chain, for example, they say when they started there was no lettuce supply chain in India at all. Most people use cabbage on burgers, so they had to set it up from scratch. The infrastructure was obviously lacking as well, and they had to invest in that. In 2001, we began to localize all the equipment that goes into the kitchen to build a burger, he says. For example, we took a burger, took it apart, now piece by piece, every component is made locally. So they had to set up the infrastructure, they had to set up the supply chain, they had to get everything ready so it could be as local as possible to help, I suppose, maybe the freshness and the cuisine and the whole experience of McDonald's. Again, one of the biggest advantages of the franchise model that McDonald's offer is the support and guidance that that they obviously give out. Again, it says here, in most cases, their global suppliers have worked with local businesses to make that happen. Now, without having McDonald's as that brand, that might have been extremely difficult to do. So again, he says that he wants to make it as local as possible. Now, again, in terms of the whole external environment, there will be ups and downs, and there was a slowdown in sales. However, they see such potential, and the plans are to open another 1,000 restaurants in the next decade. And this is a really interesting point, and this is why emerging markets are becoming such a strategy for many multinational firms. It says, think about it. India is 1.2 billion people, and we have just 350 restaurants to serve them, which shows you how much possibility for revenue that McDonald's have by operating in India. The last part of the article, again, it just looks at some of the issues that you might have when operating in a different country. You have to understand their regulations. You have to understand their laws. And there's been a few legal battles, but again, there are a lot of regulatory approvals that need to get something done, he says, but that is known. Once you know it, you can factor it into your business plan. But it just shows the potential of McDonald's in emerging countries. Now, if you were to think about McDonald's and you were to think about the benefits, the drawbacks of their globalisation strategy, there's obviously arguments for and against. Think about the advantages for. They are a massive employment provider. The fact that they operate in over 100 countries, think about the amount of employees that they obviously hire. And as it said before earlier, they've got over 300 restaurants in India. So they're going to be hiring a lot of people and providing and helping with an income. Also, they'll be helping to create and set up infrastructure. They'll be maybe providing technology, machinery, helping to train employees on them, improving skill level. Hopefully, they'll be paying obviously tax towards the government based on their operations, but there's obvious disadvantages as well. And just considering McDonald's alone, and just thinking about the McDonald's globalisation strategy, they have had to change the consumer culture. They've had to adapt I suppose, the usual foods that people in India are used to with the McDonald's experience. And whatever country it is, even if it's vegetarian, there is arguments about the obesity levels that McDonald's could have actually contributed towards their unhealthy menus. And again, with any multinational corporation, you just have to make sure that they are paying their fair way. They are following regulations. They're not exploiting labour. They're not exploiting the government in terms of tax evasion. And you have to make sure that they are following an ethical footprint and considering their corporate social responsibility.